Oh, God is so good. All of the time. Our theme this month is reconciliation. Reconciliation. You know, these themes are given to me months and months in advance, so this was probably chosen like 12, 14 months ago or something like that. And I'm always amazed when time rolls around as to what the current events are with the themes. And it's like, of course. We would do reconciliation right after a bitterly contested election period. We do reconciliation right before we go into the holidays. I mean, there's any number of reasons, but of course, reconciliation. And my topic today is the intent to reconcile. The intent to reconcile. So before I even start talking about what reconciliation is, let me talk to you about intent. Intent is where it all lines up from a spiritual standpoint. It doesn't mean the way we usually think of it in popular something of, well, I intend to blah, 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 which is usually forewarning, don't hold me to it. Because, you know, stuff happens. But I want some credit for going in that direction, thinking I'm going to. But, you know, there's no accountability there because I only intended to. That's how we usually use intent. Or at best we make intent, once again, a goal. It's like an objective. It's something that's out there, external from me. Catch that. Our intent we usually make external. It's something we're chasing after, trying to accomplish. But the place of intent is deep within. There is nothing external about intent. Quite the contrary, intent is where all of you come together. Your words, your deeds, your thoughts, your emotions, your motivations, your dreams, everything lines up. Most of us are at cross purposes. We say one thing, we're thinking something else, we do yet something that's different than what we're thinking or saying, and we could feel something that is none of the above. And then we wonder why the results in our life are so scattered. I got a witness. We contradict ourselves. We neutralize our own prayers with our doubts. We affirm 30 seconds, and then we talk about how bad it is for the next 30 hours. My grandmother used to talk about the cow that gives a good bucket of milk and then kicks it over. We neutralize. Because of our cross purposes, it's like we've got our foot on the gas and our foot on the brake at the same time and wondering why we ain't going nowhere. This place of intent is where it all comes together. I want you to catch that. Where what comes out of your mouth and what you're thinking and what you're feeling, where you are spending more time trying to reconcile that, to bring it all together so that you are moving in one direction. If it feels like you're being pulled this way or that way, it ain't personal. It's not personal. That's the human condition. That's the human condition. Your ego self is always warring with inside itself, pulling you this way, pulling you that way. It's often depicted as a little angel on one shoulder and a little forked devil on the other, like whispering in your ear, trying to pull you different directions, but all of that's inside your head. There's nothing external pulling you this way or pulling you that way. It's all in your head. So this intent is not only the place where it all pulls together, but that place of intent is in front. We miss this so often. We think of reconciliation as something we do after the fact. See? Well, if there's a division between us, then we need to reconcile. But I'm not even going to think about reconciliation until there's something to reconcile. Catch that. We do the same thing with forgiveness, where we don't even conceive of forgiveness until after the fact, till after we think there's something to forget. But if you move through life with the intent to forgive, woo, check that out. You're not waiting for stuff to happen. You've already made the decision before anything happens that there's no Velcro on you. You have already made the decision before anything happens that you're not going to stay stuck in judgment and blame and freedom. You've made the decision before it happens. And if you make that decision before it happens, it appears to be less to forgive. The intent to reconcile has to be in the front, not afterwards. In the front, not afterwards. When we think of reconciliation, we're usually thinking of reconciliation as simply two warring sides that are somehow at odds with each other, and how can we bridge the gap of the sides? That's a dualistic model. And if we're still thinking of it as sides that have to be bridged, there will always be another bridge to build. Because there'll just be different gullies, valleys, crevices, things that seem rivers between you, mountains. There'll just be another one. Because the construct itself of you over here and me over there always means there's going to be something between us. So this morning when I was going to my spirit definitions, and reconciliation wasn't on this long list that I've been getting, so I just sat in meditation for a while. You know, with these definitions, there's always a formula. There's always something that we have to bring to the table that meets something that's already there. And it's an activity that takes place. The spiritual qualities are not things that we chase after. They are states of being that we must come. So reconciliation cannot be something external that we're trying to do, but reconciliation must be something that we are. We must be it before we can manifest it. So it described this place of reconciliation. It said there are these two things that come together. And then it describes the verb activity that brings these things together. It said, when your individualization, catch that, that's not even about something being wrong. But just the process of individuating, just the process of thinking of ourselves as separate and distinct entities starts to set up the stage for there being some kind of rifts or differences of opinion. So it says when that individuation, when that sense of yourself as a unique individual, when that seeks to honor. I'm not even going to tell you what's on the other side of that yet. Seeks to honor. What does that mean to honor something? When you honor it, you recognize it, you appreciate it, you make room for it. There's some kind of way where you're trying to make certain that it survives. When you honor it, there's some kind of way that it becomes a part of you. It's not just this external something, that you're seeking to do this. You're not chasing after it, but seeking in earnest to honor. So that reconciliation is that place where your individuation seeks to honor your collective oneness with me. where your individuation seeks to honor your collective oneness with me. This is where we get off on reconciliation all the time. Reconciliation is not about the two sides. The reconciliation is about transcending the sides and understanding the collective oneness. It is not reconciliation until at some point within you there doesn't appear to be sides. It's not reconciliation. Now, I'm not talking about differences of opinion. There can be a lot of differences of opinion. But differences of opinion in and of themselves do not cause conflict. Polarization causes conflict. Your conflict is never your difference of opinion. Your conflict is your polarizing. Your conflict is your creating a side out of your opinion. That's what creates the conflict. And it doesn't even matter the substantive content of the conflict. It doesn't matter what it's about. It just doesn't matter. It's the construct itself. It's the polarization. It's the me over here and you over there, us, them. That in and of itself is the conflict. I want you to catch that. We spend so much time trying to, quote unquote, resolve the difference. The difference isn't your problem. Your heart's the problem. The difference isn't your problem. Your heart space is the problem. And if you work to reconcile the heart space, see, then there's always room. There's always room for everybody. Then you start seeing more creative opportunities of how everybody and everything can come together, and then even those supposed differences don't seem so big. The intent to reconcile. See, that happens ahead of time. We wind up living our lives the same dysfunctional way that we do elections. It's ridiculous. It's like a ping pong match. This side, this side. This side, this side. Pump, pump, pump. And it just never gets anywhere. Do not fool yourself into believing that 51% is a win. Don't even go there to try to amass just enough on your side to tip it over. 51% is a house divided. 51% is not a win. It's a house divided. There's always a baby. Isn't there, right at the right moment? If you just gloat in getting your way, if you just gloat in winning, if you just gloat in the fact that it worked out the way you wanted it to work out, and do not take the time to reconcile with everybody else, it's going to be a very short-lived gloat. Energetically, it'll all get sabotaged, one way or another. When you reconcile, you honor the oneness. Feel that with me. You honor the collective oneness. That it's not good enough. People are hurt. They are in pain. I don't care whether you're talking about the nation or whether you are talking about your own home. until you move to the place where you say, we're one here. There's one family. And everybody's needs have to be important. So when you go into a contentious situation, whether it's an election or it's something as simple as making a decision about where to go on vacation, when it is quite clear that there is going to have to be a choice, okay? You're not going to be in Disney World and Yellowstone the same 2 weeks. Okay? When it is clear that that is the case, pay attention. Pay attention. Pay attention to the one who perceives that their needs are not being met. Are you with me? Pay attention to that. What is it that they need? No, we're not going to get to Yellowstone and Disney World at the same time, but really, what is it? Because when you peel that stuff off, you begin to realize that, you know what? It really isn't about Disney World or Yellowstone at all. It's about the family doing what I want to do sometimes. It's about maybe some balance between the adult activities and the children's activities. Maybe it's about just getting out of Dodge. Because we never go anywhere or do anything. Maybe it's about the opportunity to do something that's shared amongst all of us. Are you with me? There's always another way. When you get to the root of what it is that people want, no, you may not be able to manifest it in that particular thing that you're fighting over, but the fight is usually never the thing itself. How many couples have argued about the trash? Or the bills? It's not about the bills, it's about the power play that the bills represent. It's not about the bills. It's not even about the time. How many couples argue over time? It's not about the time. It's about the honoring. It's about the visibility, the sense of support, the being seen and appreciated. It's not about the time. Are you with me? So we wind up putting stakes in the ground about stuff that's just symbolic. It's not even about that. When you have the intent to reconcile, then you realize that there is a collective oneness here. And I'm going to get ahead of it. Check that out. See, I'm going to get ahead of it. See, we're going to be demonstrating some of that in Inner Light soon. In 30 days, the 9th District Court of Appeals is, 9th Circuit Court of Appeals is going to be hearing the appeal of Proposition 8 that was overturned. No matter how this verdict goes down, there's going to be drama. I'm talking big drama. Because this case transcends anything that we've thought of that even has to do with California, because the ruling that overturned was a federal ruling based on the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. I'm talking big. I'm talking that this has implications for the whole entire nation. That proposition was the biggest initiative in U.S. history and continues to be so because so much is at stake. From a legal standpoint, all indications are it's going down. And it probably will be overturned, and the marriages are probably going to be starting by April, or restarting by April. Drama. But what we're going to do is get ahead of it. We're going to get ahead of it. And right here on December 10th, we're going to start entering into a dialogue. about heart. About heart. About how do we live in a society together. The real issue here is integration. And that's not a new issue. We've done this before. We know how to integrate societies because that's all that it's really about. The old, there goes the neighborhood. But to do it from a heart space, where we start teaching people the tools of how to have the discussions, how to meet people where they are, how to discuss this. Because what is at stake here is so beyond any, we're talking about the most basic social justice issues that are tied up in immigration and all this other stuff that we'll talk about. But the bottom line here is that there has to be the intent to reconcile. That's why I had the Prop 8 people here. After the election? Because nothing ever ends in an election. That's just a ping pong ball. But it's coming back. I really want you to catch that. When you have a breakthrough, there's always a pushback. This is true in the collective. This is true in your individual life. When you have a big breakthrough and you start moving in a certain direction, whatever that is, sobriety, towards getting your education, towards being healthier, towards your spiritual path, there's always a push back. There's nothing linear. It's like a pendulum. And the more you swing over here, the more it's going to swing back. There's no mistake there's a Tea Party movement. There had to be a Tea Party movement because the swing was so big. I'm not even talking politics here to you. I'm talking like just the pure physics of motion and transformation. So you don't go to sleep. When you have a big swing one direction, get prepared. When you start swinging over here, get prepared. Get prepared. Anybody who's been in recovery, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The moment that you start going to AA or doing something like that, it's like the gremlins come out of everywhere. Friends you ain't hung out with in years. Yo, dude, come on. Come on, I got some good stuff. And it's like, I ain't seen you in 10 years. That's okay. I came in town and I heard. It doesn't matter. You try to say, okay, I'm going to be who I'm going to practice my fidelity. And it seems like everybody that comes in your sight is just fine. Woo! You decide, oh man, I'm really going to do this tithing thing. And all of a sudden, all these things you just got to have. Well, the church really doesn't need that. No? I give my time. Do I really have to give this money to? Some traditions would call it the devil coming to steal your joy. I don't care what you call it. What I'm saying is be prepared. Be prepared to do the reconciliation inside of you. Inside of you. Inside of you. Let that be your intent. That's where the wholeness is. That's where the joy is. When your individuation seeks to honor your collective oneness in me. That oneness is a oneness just within your own self, as well as within your family, within the nation, within the world. It's just like an artichoke or an onion. There's just layers upon layers upon layers of the same thing. Have the intent to reconcile. I'm about to close now, but I want to say this. The intent to reconcile. When you reconcile, there's room for everything. Don't beat yourself up. It's not about conquering your ego. It's not about judging yourself. The reconciliation is where you are able to be at peace. At peace with you. At peace with your so-called flaws and faults and all the where you're not so anxious to get rid of parts of you. Where you reconcile. It's all a part of you. It's all a part of you. Just every part of you doesn't get to drive. Okay? Everybody's going on the bus. Your inner child, ghost of grandpa passed. Everybody's going on the bus. Don't give your inner child the keys. Let there be a designated driver. And make it your God self. And then everybody will arrive. Let us pray.